Okay. And please use the chat to say hi and welcome everybody. It's so nice to at least be able to continue to meet and to see everybody. I see a lot of familiar faces and there are a couple of new names. So welcome everyone. I'd like to go over the agenda. If Lynette, can you bring that up for us? Okay, let's see. So I have an important announcement to make, but first I want to go through the agenda. The nonprofits will present. They each get 8 minutes each, and then 4 minutes of Q&A. The questions are to be submitted using your chat. And Lynette will read through the questions, and Naomi is our timer to keep us on track. So the nonprofits will be timed 8 minutes each. And then we'll have an open group discussion where everybody could be unmuted, and Naomi will be leading that discussion, followed by the nonprofit selection for our fall event. And Lynette will pick the numbers out of the hat as we do all the time and select 3 nonprofits for our October event. And then we'll have our closing remarks. So before we begin with the nonprofit presentations, I'd like to make note that Lynette, who has been with us, Lynette, gee, I forgot to check, but it's been over 2 years maybe, or just
almost 2 years.
Yeah, and Lynette, it was so exciting to meet Lynette when we we lost some of our core team members, and I had put an email out asking for volunteers. And Lynette, I met her at a Starbucks and we just clicked. It was so happy to have her join. She has been maintaining our website. She does all the maintenance on the website, any updates that we have. She also maintains, which is really important, our charity nonprofit list. And she keeps track of the nonprofits, because when a nonprofit is chosen, but not selected for the donation, they will go back into the hat after 3 years. And if the nonprofit was the chosen nonprofit, then they sit out for 5 years. So Lynette has a spreadsheet and she keeps track of all of that. And when each of you nominate nonprofits, Lynette is the person who processes the request. She vets to make sure that the nonprofits are meeting our requirements before she adds it to our website. And so we are so grateful and thankful for Lynette and what she's done for our group, but she is moving on. She has found a job in Illinois. Lynette is going to be a professor and I forgot the name of the university, Lynette.
Bradley University.
Bradley University. So a totally new job for Lynette. Lynette, would you like to say a couple of words?
Yeah, no, I've enjoyed being part of this group, and I love being philanthropic. And this is a new adventure for me, teaching. I'll be teaching game programming because I've been making games my whole, almost 10, 11 years. So this is really awesome, and I'm definitely going to miss you guys. And I wonder if they'll have something similar there. But I'm here for the next month, and this might be my last event. But I really enjoyed being part of it. You guys are great, and I know you always do good things.
Well, thank you, Lynette. Round of applause for Lynette and everything she's done for us.
Yes, thank you.
And we were talking prior to the meeting starting. We will be planning our summer event, which is really a special event. It's totally optional, and we will select a topic that is relevant to what's going on in our communities. And then the core team will select 3 nonprofits. It will be all an optional donation, but we'll hold the event. We will have the nonprofits speak, and hopefully we can have a speaker come and talk on the subject that we choose for that summer event. And then in October, we would like to do an in-person event at Art Marble, where we met over a year ago, and hope to return to Art Marble and also do a Zoom event at the same time. So those who can't make the meeting can also still attend, hear the presenters. So with that, I would like to introduce the first presenter from Bloodworks Northwest, and that would be Molly Donahue. Molly?
Hey.
Okay.
Yes.
It's all yours.
Am I able to share my screen?
You should be able to, yes.
Okay. Let me get this set up here.
Oh, family.
Oh, cute. Hold on, sorry. Working from home for over a year, you'd think I'd have this down. Okay, can you guys see my PowerPoint?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay,
And notes.
great. So my name, can I just get started? Is that okay?
Yeah.
Oh.
Start the
Okay.
timer now.
Okay, great. So my name is Molly Donahue. I'm super proud to work for Bloodworks Northwest, and I'm here tonight to speak to you about our organization. So the things I'm gonna cover tonight, just a history of our organization, how we're all connected in the community by blood, our impact in the community, and why you should support Bloodworks Northwest. So this is our mission statement. We save lives through research, innovation, education, and excellence in blood, medical, and laboratory services in partnership with our community. At Bloodworks, it is our life-saving mission to maintain a strong and stable blood supply for all members of our Pacific Northwest community who need it, regardless of their race, ethnicity, gender, age, or socioeconomic status. In addition, our reputation as leading blood experts makes us the preferred collaborator for research institutions. Am I showing you the notes? Yeah, I am. I just realized that. I'm sorry.
Okay. It also
There we go.
Can you see just the slide?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, great. This means that we are often recruiting patients for clinical trials locally, giving patients access to the latest and most innovative treatments, and further amplifying the community impact of our work. We often say that while not everyone can be a blood donor, anyone can be a blood recipient. The honest reality is that in the United States, someone needs blood by transfusion every 2 seconds. So during this eight-minute presentation, by the time I'm finished speaking, about 960 people will need blood. That number, about 960, is the number of donations Bloodworks needs to collect in a single day to support the local blood supply. Bloodworks was established in 1944 to serve Western Washington as one of the nation's first nonprofit community blood banks. Blood for transfusion was often very difficult or impossible to obtain back then because there was no group collecting donations. So basically you had to ask your friends and family for blood if you needed it. To solve this problem, a local physician proposed a countywide blood bank. As our community's needs have changed over the last 77 years, so have we. Today, we are the chosen blood supplier for 95% of the hospitals across Western Washington, Oregon, Alaska, and beyond. We are rooted in our community, partnering closely with our 230,000 volunteer blood donors and 1,800 volunteers. So what happens after we collect that blood? Where does it go? The four major uses of the community blood supply are cancer treatments, trauma patients, mothers during childbirth, and organ transplants. And I know this slide is very busy and it has a lot of detail, but I'd be happy to share the slide deck if you want to learn more about how we use our blood. I want to walk you through how it all works and how the organization kind of breaks down. So we collect blood products from the community members, which are transfused to the community for things like cancer and transplants, everything you saw on the previous slide. This is the flagship tree in our so-called orchard. And you'll see as we move forward through this diagram that it's the largest tree and it's what we're most known for. When you think of Bloodworks or when you think of a blood bank, you're like, okay, they take blood and they transfuse it to patients. But Bloodworks is more than just a blood bank, which makes us unique from our peers in the field. We also collect blood for research purposes and cord blood donations from mothers during childbirth. These donations are the basis for our scientific discoveries, new treatments, and ultimately patient cures. We're currently working on cures for leukemia, lymphoma, bleeding disorders, and autoimmune diseases. But all of this can't be done on blood donations alone, and that's where partners like you come in. Our orchard is also nourished with community support, like financial contributors and volunteers. Both money and time cultivate the leaves on our trees, spreading our impact through the medical community. And lastly, the Bloodworks Research Institute, which is completely funded by financial contributions, is home to a collaborative community of blood experts and is the epicenter for new treatments and advancements in patient care for those with bleeding disorders, cardiovascular disease, blood cancer, and difficult transfusion needs. So this is the complete picture of what our organization does beyond blood banking. For 7 decades, we've had it down. We collect blood from the community, test it, deliver it, and save patient lives. Much like most things, COVID changed a lot of that. Before 2020, over a quarter of our donor pool was made up of young donors in high school and college. We would set up donation sites and every 56 days collect blood. But everything changed when all of the schools closed. Much like other organizations, we needed to pivot. Our local blood supply was on the verge of collapse. But with our community partners and our financial partners, we transformed empty stadiums and entertainment venues to create these pop-up donor centers, ensuring that our blood supply remains stable. But the need never stops, and we're still adjusting to the COVID world, and our financial need is ever present. So I want to briefly show you about our community impact and introduce you to Isaac. In 2017, Isaac was diagnosed with high-risk stage 4 neuroblastoma at just 17 months old. Facing a course of transfusion treatment lasting the duration of his life, Isaac, his mother Kelly, father Dennis, and older brother Isaiah endured the unthinkable. It's important for you to know that 1/3 of all blood is used for adults and children with cancer and other bleeding disorders. And without the financial contributions made by organizations, Isaac would not have made his amazing recovery. Bloodworks also runs a Thank the Donor program, where blood used in transfusions at hospitals is tagged with contact information of the donor that made the donation. And recipients can reach back out directly and say thanks specifically to that donor, which is pretty unique. This is such one of the examples of what a recipient said to a donor recently. So the question becomes, why support Bloodworks? And the answer is that we are stewards of the community, and the impact of your financial contribution will save lives immediately. But it is also an investment in the future. We're dedicated to maximizing the amount of good each blood donation makes possible, and we're leading the field in COVID therapeutic research. We accomplish this through our Cutting Edge Research Institute, where our scientists are able to make blood safer and how to unleash its power to advance human health. By coupling the generosity of our blood and financial donors with the brilliance of our scientists, we ensure that our community is ready when emergencies strike and when breakthroughs are made.
30 seconds, Molly.
Great. That's all I have to say. We ask you to step up, push up your sleeves, and support our organization.
Okay, great. Thank you. I will start the 4-minute timer for questions for Molly. I put a link in our chat of the questions that Bloodworks had already answered in advance of the event, some of our FAQs. So you guys can reference that, but also if you have any questions for Molly, please now's the time to ask.
So there aren't any questions there yet, but I do have one, Molly. I know to donate blood in the past, there used to be a rule for you needed to be out of certain countries. Like me specifically, I go home to visit my family in India often. And there was a rule that said you can't, if you've been home in the past 2 years, you can't donate for certain reasons because of the other risks. Has that changed at all? Because I would love to donate, but I mean, because of COVID, I haven't been home for almost 2 years, but I'm getting there. But has that changed at all?
Yeah, so travel ban restrictions have been significantly reduced in the past, 3, 6, 12 months. Blood banks like Bloodworks don't control the FDA guidelines. That's all at the federal level in terms of who can and can't donate. But there's been a lot of research done, and Bloodworks is part of that cutting edge research to eliminate barriers to make it so the total donor pool of people able to donate rapidly expands. For example, we're part of the research that allows more MSN, men who have sex with men donors, and queer donors to be able to donate. We are part of the research that allowed, the reason that people who travel abroad can't donate is for people who are at risk of getting malaria. It's something that travels through blood donations, but there's been fewer restrictions about that as well. And some vaccines that you get that when you travel kind of impact that as well. But basically, if you have a question about your eligibility, there's tons of resources on the internet.
Okay. Yeah, I'll look it up. Thank you.
Any other questions?
None yet. Either that or everyone's actually still reading what's online to make sure their question's not already answered.
I'm happy to continue answering questions. I can talk about blood all day.
There are times, if you have anything else you'd like to say while we wait for questions.
Oh, yay, a blood donor, yay.
Yeah, no, I used to volunteer with you guys. I just returned my volunteer badge 2 days ago because I'm moving.
Okay.
Are there any other questions, or Molly, is there something else you would like to say?
I guess I would just conclude with, blood banking is interesting because, we have a significant operating budget. It costs a lot of money to operate our business. We are a nonprofit, but we operate a business line in blood collection and blood sales to the hospitals. So our business on paper looks exorbitant, but all of that zeroes out. We still are a nonprofit. And the money that we fundraise directly goes to our community programs and our research institute, which are two things that don't support themselves and we can't do without community support. And those are the things that make us unique in this field. Red Cross, other blood banks, they aren't doing this stuff to advance the future of blood and health in the community. And that's the reason that we fundraise at all. If we were just here to bank blood and get it to the community, that would be one thing. But that's the reason I have a job, is to get out in the community and make sure that we can invest in the future of blood health.
Molly, this is Virginia. You had a plan sketched out for how our donation would be used. Can you explain to everybody what that would be?
Yeah. So we are currently working. Our researchers are at work in 4 fundamental fields right now, but this work specifically would be working, one of our researchers is heavily invested in platelet research. So just so that you know, platelets sit on the shelf and they're only viable for 5 to 7 days.
That's gonna be time, Molly, I'm sorry.
Okay,
Oh,
sorry about that, but I can answer, I'll put it in the chat.
Yes, perfect,
Okay.
thank you. So
Thank you,
our,
Molly. Our next presenter is from Puget Sound Honor Flight. Renee, are you ready?
I hope so. I'm going to give it a try. Thank you guys so much again for allowing us here this evening and giving us the opportunity to talk about our organizations. like Virginia said, my name's Renee Peavey, and my husband and I founded Puget Sound Honor Flight Hub back in 2013. There's 130 hubs across the nation that work under the Honor Flight Network. We're all individual, we're all nonprofit, and all volunteer organizations. And I have a video I'd like to show you guys that pretty much sums it up better than I could talk for hours on this. So if I could share the screen.
Go ahead.
Okay, I'm going to give this a try. Can you see the screen?
Yes.
Time is a thief that comes in the night and robs us, even the bravest and the best. These men, World War II veterans, the last of a great dying generation, came to SeaTac Airport to remind themselves that some things can never be touched, even by time.
I'm 88 years old, and so I'm at the end of my journey, and this is one more honor that I'm receiving from our people.
It is called an honor flight, put on by thankful souls to honor World War II vets while we still can, with what they call one last mission.
I look at all these old guys, and I realize I'm one of them.
This would be the first ever honor flight for Puget Sound vets.
I think it's wonderful that we're all here, and it's wonderful of these people to do this.
They were a stoic lot with nothing left to prove to anyone, on their way to Washington, D.C. for some unfinished business.
Very solemn ceremony, but something I want to do before I cash in my chips, you know.
They've been there, they've done that.
And brothers.
Upon arrival, there were cheers, hugs, and applause.
Thank you, sir. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
The next morning, they loaded up and followed their escorts through the city to Arlington Cemetery.
You gotta stop and think, you know, I was lucky. I came back. But every one of them, there's somebody that didn't make it, you know.
Oh! They were there to see the changing of the guard at the tomb of the unknown soldier.
Guard! It's always moving. It's really. But, you know, you've got to be proud of your country, and this young man standing right doing that. You've got to be proud.
The government was shut down that day, and when they got to the World War II Memorial, there was a protest in progress at the National Mall. For this occasion, politics politely stepped aside.
Young man, thank you for your service.
They entered the memorial, a place of honor built on a foundation of incalculable loss. There was ceremony and then time for reflection for men like Henry Richmond, a Pearl Harbor survivor.
And I wondered if I would ever get to see it.
There you are.
There it is.
And Navy man Dale Knockin,
Oh, isn't this something?
who had a special purpose here.
But this is a story about Jack Cunha. He wrote me a letter. It's dated November 11th, 1944. He was killed 35 days later in the Battle of the Bulge. And this is for Jack. So I'm going to leave it here somewhere. And they will. Yeah. So long, Jack. Now I've let him go.
70 years is a long time to hold on to anything, especially a friend. Ivan Larson fought in the Battle of the Bulge. This place was built for him.
Well, you know, I try to forget about it, but it just never leaves.
And at the Marines Memorial, only one man got off the bus.
Oh, it's with me every night. I have nightmares every night.
Pee Wee Justice was there when the flag was raised on Iwo Jima, an event paid for with the blood of 6,000 Americans.
But I do want to say this. It took me 45 years for God to take the hatred out of my heart for the Japanese and the Germans. And today, I love them just as I love you all. Because God, He made it possible.
Thank you. Some wounds don't heal. Even time won't dare touch them. The homecoming was a joyous affair. Hundreds of people, music, an airport filled with honor.
Made me cry. Made me go warm heart. But this is amazing that people, because that's the thing that you lose, I think. People don't care. But they do. They really care. And ain't that something?
An entire generation is slipping away from us, but these men know at least that time will never steal what they did. The thief in the night is shamed in the presence of true heroes. Eric Johnson, Como 4 News.
So that was our first trip back in 2013, and to date, we've made 26.
I've worked with a couple of other people. I worked with Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder. And how did he repay you? He bought you something, you see?
Sorry about
Yeah,
that.
I couldn't take him anywhere. No.
And to date, we've made 26 trips and brought over 1,400 Western Washington veterans. It's a 3-day trip. We see about 9 memorials, and I've made every single one of the trips, and it's very cathartic for all of these veterans. And so we're a hardworking board. We all volunteer board. We do all the logistics and everything for the trips, and
30 seconds.
just have a big heart for our veterans and try to spread the word so everyone remembers who we need to thank for being here today. So thanks again for the opportunity, and I welcome any questions at this time.
Thank you, Renee. I'll set the question timer. And I don't know if Lynette's seen anything in the chat. I haven't yet. Oh, there we go.
That's Melissa asked, how do veterans sign up to join? That's a great question. To be eligible for a trip, you have to have worn the uniform of the U.S. military. We take veterans based on their conflict, their years, the years that they served. So obviously we take the older ones first, and then we prioritize by date of application submission. So we've emptied out our World War II veterans. We continue to take them as they come in. Our Korean veterans continue to take them as they come in. They jump to the top of the list. So currently we're working on Vietnam veterans. We have about 400 Vietnam veterans on our waiting list now. It costs about $1,000 per veteran. That covers the 3-day trip. Everything is covered. Food, obviously the flight, the hotel, everything's covered. So it's about $1,000 a veteran.
Do you get, while we're waiting for more questions, do you get corporate donations for some of those expenses?
That's not true. I'm sorry, misspoke. We get no federal funding. We work to get donations from corporations, and we have gotten donations from corporations. Talking Rain, we've been able to have a relationship with them, and then we've Brown Bear Car Wash sometimes in Veterans Day or Memorial Day will donate you know, 50 cents for every car wash. You know, we work hard, but most of our donations, well, a lot of our donations come from VFWs and veterans that have made the trip. Veterans aren't allowed to donate before a trip, but if they want to make a donation after they've made the trip, we're happy to receive that. And yes, all the veterans, we serve Western Washington veterans. So draw a line down the middle of Washington and up north to Bellingham and south to Vancouver, basically. There is an inland Northwest honor flight that serves Eastern Washington.
You have about a minute and a half for Renee, if there's anything else you want to add while we wait for more questions.
Well, so a typical trip would be 112 travelers. Of those 112 travelers, about 60 of them are actual veterans that we're honoring. The rest of them are guardians and support staff. We bring medical photographers, a family member of the next generation, son, daughter, grandson, granddaughter, can accompany the veteran. Up to one person can do that. We bring 40 wheelchairs. As long as the veterans can do the basic get up and have to go to the bathroom on the plane or up in the middle of the night, we can, you know, pretty much accommodate the rest of that stuff. So we make 6 trips a year, 3 in the fall and 3 in the spring. We've been COVID canceled until we're hoping we can make the 3 that we have still scheduled for the fall. If not, we have 6 scheduled for 2022. So we have been on hold the past year, and these veterans, some of them are getting older, and I know we'll be making some of those calls and they'll no longer be with us. So that part of it's difficult. So time is of the essence for especially our older generation.
Well, thank you so much, Renee. Naomi, I believe her time is up.
She has 15 seconds.
Oh.
10, 9.
Yeah. I just want to thank you guys for the opportunity to learn about these other organizations. And to learn about your guys' organization. It's pretty neat. So I'll be doing even some more research for everybody after this. So thanks again.
Thanks, Renee.
Thank you.
Okay, our next nonprofit is Young Women Empowered, and Victoria and Sylvia are going to be presenting.
Hello, everybody. Good evening, and thank you for inviting us here. Victoria and I are excited to talk a little bit about Young Women Empowered.
We're very excited. Thank you so much for having us. And thank you to the other presenters for going and for coming. I really appreciate that. We're going to be from the youth to the elder and the blood in between.
Yes. Yes. I'm Sylvia Giannatasio Lugo. I am the Development and Communications Director at YWE, Victoria.
And I am Victoria Santos, and I'm the Strategic and Partnership Communicators and Director.
And we are here to talk about Young Women Empowered. And what our organization does is it helps young women and gender nonconforming youth find what their leadership style is and really be the leaders in their homes, in their schools, and in their communities. We do this by creating a community of belonging. And we envision a world where we are all liberated and in social justice and in true equality. The biggest thing for me about this organization that I love and truly believe is that leadership looks different to all of us, and we really help have everyone find what that leadership looks like to them. What we do and how we do this is we do it through school year programs. So this past year, we have had 6-week cohorts in the fall, in the winter, and now in the spring. We are in the middle of our last cohort, and we offer this programming now through Zoom. I'm really proud of the fact that we were able to quickly go all online within 2 weeks. We were still continuing to offer that programming because during that critical time, it was really important for our youth to still feel that they're a part of our community. We also have summer programs that are why we create and why we write. And those really focus on a week long of being together, discovering yourself through creativity, and creating that community together. Another thing we do is we offer social work services, which again has been very important this past year. It's always important, but it has been extra important this past year as we have helped our youth and our families navigate COVID and unemployment and all the things that have come. We do an event every quarter. So we do health event, a STEM day, and we do a career day, where we have not only people come and talk to us, but specifically people of color, women of color, because we all know that representation matters. And with COVID, the thing we have done is we have been able to provide a lot of community aid as well. So we have been able to provide food and housing assistance for a lot of our youth and their family. We serve, our programming that I just discussed is for ages 13 to 18. And we also, this is our 11th year. I am so happy about that. And with our 11th year, we have a lot of our alums still in our network. And as they're going to college and starting their first jobs, they're really finding this need to continue to have this community and continue to grow, learn about finances and all the things that come with adulting. And so we have really built a community with our alums as well. 70% of our youth are first or second generation immigrants. We really center people of color, BIPOC youth in our organization. So 85% are people of color and 90% are from low income backgrounds. But the thing that's most important about our organization is that we are all intersectional identities, because together through our intersectional identities is how we will be able to create an equal world that everyone will be able to live in. So here are our numbers. They kind of talk for themselves, so I'm not going to say too much, but I will let you look at them a little bit. The most important thing is we have been able to serve a little under 700 youth. We've continued to provide all of our community events online, and we have also been delivering, almost, as you see here, over 4,500 meals to all of our youth and community members. Victoria.
Thank you, Sylvia. This past year, like a lot of organizations, have been really challenging for us. And our young people in particular have been really, suffering. And I was made a joke in terms of both the elders and the young people, but these two groups have really suffered a lot this past year. And so our resources in terms of support for everything from food, for medicine, for support with rental assistance, having to hire additional counselors so that the young person will have people to talk to, and not only the young person, but their families as well, have really stretched us. And so your support will really help us to both meet that immediate need, as well as to support the programming that is going to be taking place this summer. We are looking at, I talked earlier about doing a hybrid program in which we're going to be doing some in-person activities as well as some online activities. So the resources that your organization will provide will help us to provide food, supplies, and other kinds of programming expenses that we have this summer. Yeah. So thank you so much. Thanks, Sylvia.
Thank you, everybody.
And I would just add one more thing, and that is that our program and our organization is very intergenerational. So we have, when some of our programs sometimes have young people that are like 13. We used to even have sometimes that we're at 12. And then we have, people that are in their 60s. And we bring everyone together and do the work together. The mentoring, and it goes both ways. The young person have a lot to offer, elders like myself and others, and elders also have a lot to support young people in terms of guidance and sharing stories and helping to navigate life. Thank you. You can remove the slide. Thank you, Sylvia. Yes, we're open for any questions you might have.
And I'll just add that your extra time onto the Q&A. So we have about 5 minutes.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I see.
So there's a few questions popping up. I'm not muted, right? Okay. We got one from Camilla Fogel. She asked, what area do the 13 to 17-year-olds that you serve live in?
Yeah, so that's a great question. Before the pandemic, one of the things that we provided was any barrier removal. So that meant transportation to programs, and all of our programs included food. And so because of that, the majority of our youth tended to be from the Puget Sound area. With COVID, because of this technology, we've been able to provide a lot of our youth with computers and hotspots. And so now we have youth in Las Vegas, in the East Coast. So that has been one of those blessings that has come out of this pandemic, is we have been able to expand the youth in our programs.
Yeah, and those youth that are from those regions, of course, you know, some of them find themselves through different things that we've done with organizations that are based here in the Puget Sound region. But if for the Puget Sound region, we would have people here from all the way up north, and even with the island, and then all the way down south to a Federal Way, and some people also from the east side.
Okay, cool. Got another question from Susan. How do young women find out about your organization?
So the number one way is word of mouth. Usually either a youth will be in our program and they'll go back to school and talk about that. Parents are also big word of mouths for us as well. And then we do advertising through social media, and we also do Google ads targeted to our youth as well. So all over, but really word of mouth is our number one way.
We also have partnerships in the school districts, and so we will go and make presentations right into the schools, work with the counselors, and then we also work with other service providers in the area. And we're part of a big coalition of youth workers in the Seattle area.
Okay, very cool. There's a question from Melissa. Do you each have a favorite event or process during the cohorts each year?
I know, it's like, which one?
Well, you know, our program, it uses the creative community model, we call it, which is where we do a lot of experiential, a lot of very dynamic art-based activities to get the young people to build relationship and to get out of their shells. And so but I think that what I like the most is the time when the mentors and the mentee have time to spend together and share things or collaborate on a project. And you know, we might see that, for instance, in one of our YLC, the Youth Leadership Council, or in the LEAD program, or even, you know, some of our camps are the best for the overnights. That really helps to build relationship.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, so my first Why We event was a Why We Write open mic, and it was one of the most amazing events because, you know, we had, you know, all these youth, all these young women who had just met each other a week ago and were pouring their hearts out in front of each other and just cheering each other on. And we have things called Chicken In, where everyone cheers people and we ask people to chicken in, and everyone was just, I mean, everyone was getting all of this beautiful emotion out, and it was just amazing to witness.
Awesome.
I see the next question.
Yeah. There's a question that's from Sandy Farnham. She said, this is amazing. Is there anything similar for boys?
Okay, for many years, almost since we started the Why We, people have been asking us that question. Sometimes men would ask us that question. We're like, hey, why don't you guys organize it, and then we'll support you, and we can do this. And then eventually, we started working with some of our friends, and they were like, well, you know what? We're going to start one, and we're going to call it Why Me. So I'm like, yes, like why me? Like for men, you know, why men? Because we use the short term for like why we. Anyway, there isn't one that I know of that is as comprehensive and holistic in the way that it approaches the individual that we know of. There was a couple of men in Bainbridge Island and in Vashon Island that were trying to get something started, but there isn't one that I know of.
Okay, one more question from Mary. How many people are in a cohort at a time?
So in this one that we have, in the last three that we've had about 75 to 100 people. And then we have Why We Tech that goes all year, and that is completely based on technology. And that one we have 30 people in. And then for each mentor, there's 2 youth. So it's a great way for us to be able to really build that intergenerational community that Victoria was talking about. And for tech, a lot of our youth come from the Microsoft world. So it's our mentors, sorry. So they come from the Microsoft world. So that's pretty exciting too.
That's our
I was
time.
happy
Thank-
to hear about your being a gamer and making games because some of our young people love that. And there's a woman named Nihal Shankar who, anyway, is a gamer. But I also would just say that we also do, and now, we have to, everything online, everything has shifted. So we have to, it's a new paradigm. But before that, we will partner with the University of Bothell, Washington, and with Cascadia College, and we will have about 350 youth participate, like in some of our public programs like Career Day. So we'll have like Career Day, STEM Day, Health Day, and these were like large events where we open it up to the entire community. So that our approach is that we actually have a small, like a small core that we manage and track throughout the year, and they work in like very intense time and focus. And then we expand the circle so that then we have the public programs, and we invite the, outreach to the whole schools, all these different schools. And then from there, it ripples out into their families, so that we are actually having multiple touch points, which was the last slide that you saw that had all the different ways that we meet and the people that we serve.
Thank you, ladies. I see we have more questions coming in. So at this point, you're at time, but we turn it over to a group conversation. And so I'm going to remove everyone's spotlight so we can see each other. And then we can people can unmute themselves and have group discussion. And if nothing else is coming up in conversation, any additional questions for our presenters are fair game too, with the few minutes we have before Lynette makes our selection. Does anybody have anything they want to share or say regarding the presentations we just heard?
Are there any more questions that we could go through?
We can, yeah. I think we ended with, did we get to?
Well, there was
Cohort?
a question from Tammy where she said, is the Cohort programming a year long? And Sylvia already answered it, said it's 6 weeks long.
No, we
And-
have our programs are actually, we run the organization year round. It's just that there's different ways. So one is a school year program, which we have several school year programs. So they'll start like in the fall and they'll go through the spring. And then we have programs that are one at a time that might have the large programs. And then we have the summer programs. So there's like different tiers. We're busy. But there is a question here about, do you accept every girl? Yes, we do. We do, unless they have they have some things that are organized that are beyond our organizational capacity, in which case we work with our social worker and we do referrals, and then we support them in that. But we accept every youth, and we try to meet, like Sylvia mentioned, we really are about removing barriers to participation. So we do whatever we can and whatever we have to do to make sure that that young person is able to participate in. And some of our mentors would drive all over to pick up young people and bring them to a program. Yeah, and we also, if they needed, some additional support, in some cases, honestly, some of these young people had to be the childcare for their sibling, and so we would have to like negotiate that and work through that with their parents or whoever the adult person would be. And in some cases, if they were like in that cusp, we'd bring them along, and that's how we end up getting some of the 12-year-olds, for instance.
I'm just going to add to that part of that, removing the barriers. We don't charge anything for our programs. So we really are based on fundraising is the way that we're able to continue to provide the facilitators and the mentors and everything, the community that we need.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. There aren't any more questions, and we've hit 7:50, so might be my turn to take over.
Thanks, Lynette.
Yeah. Where's me? Oh, okay, here we go. Thanks. Why could I not do that? So we're picking nonprofits for the next events, and basically like how Paul already explained, the ones that have been selected are out for 3 years. The ones that have gotten the money, the biggest amount is out for 5 years. So with my spreadsheet, I take those out and I have little balls all in a hat. And so now I'll just pick 3 and figure out the number. So we got number 6, which is the Coalition for Refugees from Burma. Have we gotten that before? We haven't gotten that before. That's
No, I don't think so.
cool. All right, let me just flag that one so I don't lose it. All right, and then number 2, number 15, which on my press spreadsheet is Global to Local. That's cool. One that Paula actually nominated. And you're very lucky. There's a lot that you've nominated that keeps coming in. The third one, number 24, which is, oh, Mopop. Cool. So those are our 3 for next time.
Well, thank you, Lynette.
You're welcome. Just make sure I highlight these before I forget. There we go. So those are our 3 for next time. They're kind of diverse, kind of cool.
Yes.
But yeah.
Actually, that's a reminder. I guess I have nominated a number of nonprofits, and I really would like our members to think more about it. I mean, that's part of the reason we're here, and to increase the number of nonprofits that we can choose each time we have an event. We have some information on our FAQ that helps you with resources for finding nonprofits that you might find interesting, and then you can go to our website. Do check the list to make sure the nonprofit isn't on the list prior to making your nomination. But we haven't had many new nominations, so I encourage all the members before our October event to start examining all the nonprofits in the King County area. I think I might have put in our last email a link to the list of all nonprofits in King County. So there are a lot of resources out there to help you find nonprofits, and we'd love to expand our diversity of nonprofits that we can choose from. Next, I want to put out a thanks to the 3 nonprofits that presented excellent presentations, very informative. It's great to learn about your nonprofit. That's part of our experience here, is that we learn about nonprofits that I mean, I had never heard the 3 of you. And so it was excellent to learn about that. And so thank you so much for taking the time to see us and present. We will be doing an online voting, so that will take about a week and a half, and we will notify you then who was the selected nonprofit. And like I said previously, the 2 runner-ups will get a minimum of $500 each. I'm not sure exactly what the number is at this point in time, but thank you, guys.
Thank you.
So another thing that we, the core team, would appreciate is for you folks to give us feedback on how we're doing. Are there other things that you'd like to see us do or make improvements on how we do things? Read through our FAQs, understand our process, and we welcome any feedback. And our next event, we will hold a special summer event. Again, this is a totally optional event, but last summer we focused on nonprofits that support people who are struggling with the conditions that we have with COVID-19. And it was a optional donation. So there's no voting. It's just that you choose as a member to donate to one of 3 nonprofits. And then we will have our regular scheduled event in October. And we sure hope that we can have that in person at Art Marble, and we'll keep you informed with our monthly newsletters. And we thank you all for attending our Zoom event. It's really good to be together and to stay connected. So thank you all. Are there any final words from any of our core team members, things they might want to say before we sign off?
Thank you again. It's been really nice working with you guys. I'm gonna miss you all.
Yes, we're really going to miss Lynette, and we actually will be looking for
My replacement.
your replacement, because we depend on Lynette, and so it's an important contribution. Actually, each of our core members make important contributions. As a team, we stay in contact on a monthly basis, and we're always looking to make improvements. So I guess that's it. And happy spring to everybody, and we'll be in touch. So long.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thank you all.
Bye, everyone. Thank you.
Core team want to stay on just for a couple of minutes?
Sure. I'm gonna turn